Now, coming to Woodward Sports, Woodward and Main Street, the Woodward Sports Network Detroit Lions Show. Let's go! Catch Gabrielle Dee Phillips, Matt Broder, and Terry Foster for all the latest news on your Detroit Lions every week. Only on the Woodward Sports Network YouTube channel and woodwardsports.com.
Good morning, Woodward Sports, and happy Halloween and happy Victory Tuesday. The Lions beat the Raiders in Monday Night Football in an interesting fashion, but they pulled out the win regardless of how they got there. We'll get more into it during the show. But good morning. I hope you all are somewhat rested.
Oh, yeah. Good morning.
How are you doing, Matt Broder and Terry Foster?
Doing very good. Not rested, but just going on emotion. How about that? You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of my day after when I used to cover the Super Bowl. Super Bowl would, we'd have to go right, and I'd finish up around 12:30, 1 o'clock, and I'd go to the Super Bowl brunch. And then I would get to bed about 2 o'clock in the morning, and half the time I don't know what you would call her. She wasn't my girlfriend, but she would just kind of show up at Super Bowls, and we would eggs. We would we would have fun, and then
down at the Hootenanny.
And then I would always have like a 6:30 a.m. flight, so I would see her kind of sleep, and I would just leave, wishing I could just stay one more day and just have more fun, but I had to get back home.
You didn't have a mic that next day. You could get on a plane. You don't have to be on a mic talking to the world.
No, I didn't. But I would get on the mic on the plane and talk to people. But it's that same feeling where you just don't quite get enough rest, but you're still going.
You powered through like Amon-Ra St. Brown last night. How about that performance?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and he was sick.
It's too early in the morning for some of these stories you have to share. 7:02.
I don't think there's any time for him.
No.
Terry, you can tell a story to me anytime you would like.
Okay.
So how about Lomas Brown last night? No. That was fun.
But we have a lot to get into. First off, as we always do for our game review shows, we're going to get into reviewing our optimistic and pessimistic that we gave out at the end of last show. So let's talk about it, because Matt, you gave out as your optimistic that they have something to prove on Monday Night Football. And Terry, you said that the Lions are like a rubber ball. They will bounce back because Dan Campbell knows that he made a mistake. And I think I would call this a bounce back, wouldn't you say?
I would say it was a bounce back, and I think Dan Campbell did it a different way. But the first bounce back, I think he felt he had to be mean to coaches and the players. Dan Campbell, this is a gregarious guy and everything. He was walking around the facility being a little bit of a jerk. He wasn't as much of a jerk this side, but he got his point across, fellas. And I think everyone understood what was going on. And I talked to Penei Sewell, and he also confirmed that Dan Campbell was not a jerk. But this time, he said the difference between this and the bounce back from Seattle is that everybody knew and was embarrassed for that Ravens game. They were not embarrassed about the Seattle game. So everybody's like, they're like, the players are like, you don't have to yell at us. We know we screwed up. We know we didn't play well. So I just think they had to emphasize some things. They changed a few things. They changed the outlook, and Dan Campbell said they wanted to get back to Lions football, and that's being physical. And Lions football, people, is not going to be pretty.
No.
It's grinding it out. We're going to bust you in the nose. And
this is part of that the house that Dan Campbell and that coaching staff they've built. It's not easy to just recover from a loss like that, or to get back to Lions football, get back to that physical identity. That takes time to build up that culture, that team that Dan Campbell and co have built. So to see them come back, and actually you totally can feel that, not just Penei Sewell, but so many different guys last night were like, Baltimore was a fluke. Like this is more our real identity than before. That's not something that just happens. That's what Dan Campbell has built over the last 3 years.
And you ignore the public.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times the public, they'll look at 10 straight good games, and then they play that 11th game where they suck, and the public is like, that's the real Lions team right there. Here it comes. We're about to get it. And the Lions have the exact opposite approach. That was an outlier. We're going to come back and show that we're a better team than that.
And that's exactly what they did. They did that last night. They did that on Monday Night Football in fantastic fashion. And the other thing that I have to bring up was my optimistic that was the Lions fans. And what a crowd last night. They showed out in costumes. We had a lot of Alex Angelones running around Ford Field last night. They took up a nice little section of the seats there at Ford Field.
Now, every time Alex Angelone's name is mentioned, I have to say this. Oh, you mean the guy who can't play? That guy? Because I kept hearing over and over and over, the guy's slow and he takes bad angles. What's he doing out there? He can't cover anybody. That dude's been a heat-seeking missile the last few games.
You'll just be watching on TV and there'll be a shot of like the action, and then all of a sudden you see a flash of blonde go across the screen, and I'm like, oh, there he goes. Found the next person that he's got to get.
Right.
He's everywhere. He's all over the field.
Yeah, you don't know if that's Anzalone or Barbie on a space rocket shooting across there.
He played well. He had 2 sacks, and I didn't see it at the game, but there were some pictures that surfaced of a group of, I forget what they were called, the Anzalones or something. There were like 5 or 6 guys that all had long blonde hair looking just like him. He shouted them out on his social media last night, but Anzalone played well. He was Thor last night, and he was showing that after he had those 2 sacks with the Thor hammer.
Did just that. Now, moving on to the pessimistic, Matt, you had mentioned that Max Crosby was going up against a weakened offensive line, and boy, did we see Max Crosby kind of show out last night in his home state after, right after the show, we had found out that he had made a notable donation to Eastern Michigan. This was a really important game for him, coming back to his home state, making a statement. He clearly remembered that the Lions did not pick him in his draft and has insinuated that.
I think that's wonderful. But you know what he should donate to Eastern Michigan? Some football fans in the stands. How about that? Donate like 30,000 people to go to the games every week.
I think
maybe with his new name and his reputation, maybe able to bring on a few more people.
Okay.
They could use it. He played so well last night. I got to admit, I didn't give him enough credit for how good he was. And it was Terry and I were chatting, and early in the game, what type of difference maker he is, and he was just causing havoc in the backfield all day. Seeing him catch Jahmyr Gibbs from behind, like even when they would try to run away from Max Crosby, it seemed like he always got a hand or made the tackle on Jahmyr Gibbs' feet. It was special. He's in that top tier of defensive linemen in the league.
Yeah, he doesn't tackle people. He busts them up.
That one on Jameson?
Yeah. He puts you in a suplex or the superplex and all kinds of stuff, man. He's somebody special.
Yeah.
That helmet came off, and Williams did not look like he knew where or what had just happened.
He was like, he's the fastest man alive, and all of a sudden this huge number 98 comes out of nowhere and knocks his helmet off. That was a moment, and it might be foreshadowing a little bit, but that was a moment like where the energy in that stadium was starting to shift a little bit. It was like J-Mo had just dropped the ball a play or two before that, then he gets lit up at the line of scrimmage. Some of that energy got sucked out of the crowd, but they managed to come back in the next few plays and turn things around. But it was a moment for sure.
The Lions had came back, and then the fans' energy came back, and it stuck around all the way through those post-game interviews on Monday Night Football, which was crazy to hear. The group of fans that stuck around afterwards, you could barely hear what the commentators were saying. They had Gibbs out there afterwards. You could barely hear. I don't know how Gibbs had heard the interview questions that he was being asked because the Lions fans were so loud over the broadcast.
He probably figured, they asked me the same questions anyway, so I'll just talk. Yeah. Probably it.
Say something about my teammates, say something about my coaches, and move on.
And offensive line.
But yeah. Couldn't do it without him.
Speaking of Jahmyr Gibbs, Terry, your pessimistic from yesterday was that Jahmyr Gibbs cannot run the ball between tackles and can't pass protect. And that's going to allow Max Crosby to show out.
Shame on me for saying that. Although Max Crosby, he did flex. I said, you don't want that man flexing in your arena, and he did do that several times. But Jahmyr Gibbs was a different guy. And there's also a blessing in disguise with David Montgomery back. I think people are assuming when Montgomery comes back, he's going to be the main back. That's not the way I would do it. I think in the National Football League, you've got to develop 2 running backs, and maybe one guy goes 60% of the time, the other goes 40% or 70-30 or whatever. But Jahmyr Gibbs is putting himself in position to be a guy that you can trust. I didn't have trust in him. I didn't have faith in him, but last night
Start to change your mind a little bit.
Yeah, he can show out.
And you saw Dan Campbell in his post-game press conference when I forget the exact question, but he was asked about Jahmyr Gibbs running outside versus in between the tackles, which he did a lot in the first half. And Campbell was like, we never thought of him as a back that just runs to the outside. Like, we're going to use him, running between the tackles. I think pointing attention more to the confidence or the straightforwardness in Dan Campbell's answer of no, like he's has the potential to be the type of bell cow that David Montgomery is. They are different types of runners, but they see him in a similar type of role. So you're right. I think he's giving some confidence to that coaching staff too.
That just allows you to remember that you never know what's really going through Dan Campbell's mind and Brad Holmes' minds when they're making these kinds of decisions, because they knew from the beginning how they were going to use him.
Yeah.
And we heard that they were going to use him more as a weapon from the moment that they took him in the draft. And now we're seeing that kind of unfold and all the different ways that he can be used. And it's coming to fruition right before our eyes.
Yeah. And just like the question you asked me before, that offensive line was depleted. Like, I mean, it was Penei Sewell and Taylor Decker, and then you had Graham Glasgow playing center. Eventually, Yodi, he got hurt early in the second half or late in the second quarter, and they had to replace him with Dan Skipper at left guard, which has to be the biggest left guard in the NFL now. But they just kept going. That offensive line helped Jahmyr Gibbs and Craig Reynolds, helped that team get, I think it was more than 200 yards rushing. Pretty special accomplishment considering you're missing your best run blocking guys in Frank Ragnow, Jonah Jackson, even Halapoulivaati Vaitai. It was a special night. Colby Sorsdale, his first career NFL start.
Yes.
He played pretty darn well.
Right, and then you got a knucklehead like Max Crosby who's trying to genuflect and he's trying to bust up the whole Lions.
Genuflect. Nice.
Yeah, doing this whole thing. So that made it even tougher because you had a guy playing at a high level against this offensive line.
Yeah.
But they able to do it.
He's a menace. That Raiders team is not as good as they're not very good. They just have Max Crosby.
And I think they know that, and that's why they had their little meeting. And I guess somebody went off last night.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Before the game?
After Devontae Adams.
Mm-hmm.
I would go off if I were him too.
He was not happy.
He left looking very angry.
It's like, just send me to the other locker room.
First to take the tunnel, did not want to make any contact with anyone coming off that field.
I don't understand what their offensive coordinators think. I mean, they did try to throw him the ball a couple times, but the one time he was open, Jimmy Garoppolo threw it 10 yards over his head. There's just no structure. There's nothing to their offense that I don't know.
Maybe they don't have a quarterback.
That is very true.
That could be it.
They would have been better with Aiden O'Connell in there, their backup quarterback.
Right.
Jimmy Garoppolo looked horrible.
He's a good-looking guy,
Handsome.
but not a good-looking quarterback.
Yes.
I can't point out both of your pessimistics without pointing out mine, because I'm not going to be unfair here. Not going to cheat myself out here.
Oh, she's changed. A changed woman over
I
here.
turned a leaf overnight. But my pessimistic was St. Brown being out potentially in conjunction with David Montgomery. Obviously, St. Brown took the field. Shouldn't have even questioned him, because if it was an illness or anything that he was capable of working through, of course St. Brown is going to work through it, especially for Monday Night Football on that national stage that he was built for, that his grit and his turnaround was built for. And then also, obviously, we have Gibbs. There was no reason to worry about not having Montgomery.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the Lions really shut all of us up, hey?
They spoke right to all of our pessimism going into that game. They answered that. I mean, Amon-Ra played really well. They didn't need to use him as much in the second half, but he kept the Lions in a lot of those drives in the first half. The man is special.
Yeah, I have a recording of when the Lions tried to tell Amon-Ra St. Brown that he wasn't going to play last night because he was sick. So excuse me, Ermanni, you've done a great job for us, and we appreciate everything you've done, but you're sick. You're going to have to sit down. Oh, really? F you. I'm playing.
Hell no.
That was it.
Absolutely
That's the replay.
not. He was made for that moment. Also, we had talked about going into this game, Halloween being today. Were players going to show out in costumes? And they did. A few of them decided to show up in costume, including Aiden Hutchinson, who came in as Shark Boy, while Taylor Lautner and his wife, Taylor Lautner, were on the sideline supporting the Lions, which we have later found out that Aiden Hutchinson and Taylor Lautner and their families are now friends. So it was something that he did to kind of tip the hat at Taylor Lautner. So a little Shark Boy action there.
Wait, they're connected? Shark Boy.
Yes.
I'm going to need you to fill me in on this. I did just find out last night that Taylor Lautner's wife is also named Taylor Lautner.
Yes, both
That's
of
a
the
good
Taylor
one.
Lautners.
Yeah.
That's confusing.
Americans.
Yep. But now she goes by Tay Lautner and he goes by Taylor.
Gotcha.
So they're differentiating
What's
a
the
little.
shark?
Shark Boy?
Yeah.
Like Shark Boy and Lava Girl?
What's that?
What?
Am I?
It's like I want to say like maybe early 2000s Nickelodeon.
Yeah, they're cute.
based
Even I've heard of
movie.
them.
Okay.
Oh, come on.
Maybe they
Matt
just didn't have
Terry's got it down.
They didn't have it here across the pond here in your AFC Richmond. You know what I'm saying?
Playing it off with the Halloween costume. I'll give it to you because you went full out in your Halloween costume
go.
today, which
I
was
like Graham
great.
Glasgow's. I did like Graham's
Yeah.
costume. I don't know if you're going to talk about that. He was channeling his inner Jimmy Butler.
It was dark and mysterious.
Yeah, it was.
I had my mom show me a picture of it, and she asked, "Is he in costume or does he always dress like this?" Which leads me to ask, was Benito Jones in costume or does he always dress like that? I think he took it to the next level.
I did not see him. I was looking for
man.
him.
He had the Davy Crockett hat with the raccoon tail going on last night.
I used
when
to
he
have
was
one of
walking
those
in.
when I was a kid.
Oh yeah, he had that going on last night, and I think he just kind of played up to his instincts there.
I think it was more reality than costume, but there might have been a little hybrid in there. I mean, the overalls, the costumes that he's worn to the games throughout the season have been maybe a little more costumey than last night. But who knows?
I heard some people walked up to him and said, "Hey man, great costume." He says, "What costume? What are you talking about?"
This is my uniform. This is what I work on the farm.
That's right.
And two uniforms or jerseys that were swapped were Hutchinson and Max Crosby. They decided to do a jersey swap. They discussed it before the game, and then you saw them there after the game doing their little jersey swap. Two Michigan guys, Michigan born and bred guys, not Eastern and University of Michigan, but
The
both
Battle of
from the
Washtenaw
area.
County.
Yeah.
They heard you, Terry, and they said we gotta
I know.
let the people know that we are on neutral ground here, and we're going to be polite to each other and pass off some jerseys.
Nothing wrong with that. There's some people are upset about jersey swaps. I don't get why you're so upset.
No reason to be.
You for 60 minutes you try to kill the other guy, then afterwards you can be civil. What's
Yeah.
wrong with that?
Yeah, it's the fact that it's afterwards. Go to
Right.
battle, and then when it's
No,
over.
you don't want to do it at halftime.
No, you're not supposed to be friends before the final whistle. Like
Right.
that takes the competition of sport out of it. As long as you do everything, you say hi to your friends after the game. It's no big deal, and you get a collectible out of it. These jerseys are valuable,
Right.
especially if both Aiden and Max turn into what they're becoming. They're already stars.
Yeah.
They're becoming even better.
And they were discussed so much before the game, and the comparison, the fact that they're both from Michigan, and kind of what that means for both of their careers and playing back in their homes. So I think those little moments where they can take a second and say, "Hey, this is pretty cool. We're living our dream, and now we're going to do it at Ford Field where we grew up watching games." Pretty cool. I think it's a nice moment and to have after the game.
Not a crime.
Terry, how about this question? Happy Camper Harry. I don't even know if he was phrasing it to us, but can you see Lambeer and Bird doing a jersey swap ever?
No.
That would never happen back in the day.
That would there probably be punches in the nose. You know what?
It'd be a bloody jersey.
No. There would be a jersey swap between Bird and Lambeer. The only difference is they try to strangle the other guy with the jersey.
It's not complimentary. They're not giving it to the other person, but they're swapping jerseys.
Right.
There we go. We're going to hand out game balls in the next segment, so stick with us here. This is Woodward and Main Street, brought to you by Les Stanford.
Join Woodward Sports' own Jeff Iafrate, along with special WSN guests for the most anticipated Lions season in decades. Filled with different surprises and expert analysis. You're not going to want to miss out. Go to our Woodward Sports YouTube channel on Sundays and tune in live from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m. Woodward Sports' own Tom Mazaway and Sam Stick Day will be hosting our Lions postgame show after every Lions game all season long. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel for his hot off the press takes, game analysis, and Kool-Aid sipping celebrations. You won't want to miss it. Join Maz, Stick, and special guests each week immediately following every Lions game, exclusively on the WSN YouTube channel.
Welcome back. This is Woodward and Main Street, brought to you by Les Stanford. We are your Detroit Lions insider show here on Woodward Sports Network. I'm Gabrielle Dee Phillips. Alongside me, Matt Broder and Terry Foster. We are here on a Victory Tuesday on Halloween to recap the Lions' victory over the Raiders down at Ford Field last night. A fantastic victory. And we are going to get into our game balls to talk about whose performance stood out to us most last night. And Terry, I think I'm going to let you kick it off here because I like who you're giving your game ball to.
I'm giving my game ball to Jahmyr Gibbs. And, had 152 yards, 26 carries. He was a bell cow. He ran off tackle. He ran around in. Caught passes in the flat. He was everything advertised last night. He's going to be the guy that could be a jack of all trades. He played tough. And I talked to Penei Sewell about him, and he's pretty much mirrored what Dan Campbell said. He says, no, if you can't do everything we need of you, then you can't be on the field. So we knew what he could do. Yeah, he's speedy. We knew we had to block, and we had talked about that as a group. And so what happened may have surprised you, but did not surprise us.
31 touches last night. He had 26 rushes and 5 receptions. That's the production that a lot of Detroit Lions fans have wanted to see. They got him involved in different spots around the field. It was really fun seeing Jahmyr Gibbs. I know he had a pretty good game, a good second half against the Ravens, but it seemed like he came even more out of his shell. He finished off some of those runs. Took one of them to the house from, 25, 30 yards out. It was fun to see him take that next step.
Right. Even though he had good stats against the Ravens, I didn't think he played well.
Yeah.
The Raisins. Are we gonna call them that now?
Yeah, the Raisins.
If we had beat the Ravens, I think we could call them that, but I think they had walked all over us. Now, you mentioned Gibbs taking it to the house and his celebration. We can't talk about Gibbs without talking about that celebration last night and the Superwoman that was in the stands. She was actually in costume as a regular human being, but underneath that, she's actually Superwoman, lifting Gibbs up into the stands. That was all her. Her husband was next to her, and he was like, actually, that was all her. I had nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with it. And shout out to the Lions social media team because they have been going after players at the end of the players' games. If they have like a remarkable moment during the game, Sam Laporta's first touchdown, they have him walking through the tunnel watching that. Oh no, the Lions social media team went to this lady and her husband in the stands after they pulled Gibbs up in there with them to celebrate. And they had them watch the replay of what had went down and posted that on social media. So check that out if you haven't yet on all the Detroit Lions social media. It was
You ever been lifted by a woman?
No, I haven't.
I haven't either.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we're not going to test it today. I will not be
No.
that
We're going to
segment
have
on
Gabby
the show.
is going to lift up Spinny on his shoulder.
Yes, exactly. That I haven't made it to the gym yet this morning, so that could be my workout.
There we go. It did. I don't think Jahmyr Gibbs was planning on going into the stands. I think this lady actually, she showed some superhuman strength, pulling him over the edge, and he was just standing in there with the fans after that. I don't know if that wasn't a penalty.
She even expected it.
It seemed like a bunch of excitement just all at once, just all happened, and it ended up with Jahmyr Gibbs in the stands taking a selfie with all that.
You know, sometimes you get so excited you can take on superhuman strength
Yeah.
for a few minutes. Now, if you asked her to do it right now, she probably couldn't lift.
I wonder if she's sore this
She couldn't
morning.
lift Gabby now.
No.
But last night, she could lift Jahmyr Gibbs and all his glory and all his uniform and padding and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So you just in the moment.
We saw Amon-Ra St. Brown do his Lambo leap. So what are we going to call this? We got to think of a name. Add it to the
What?
class. Ted Lasso over here is getting off track.
That's what we do here.
What are we going to call this?
Well, I can't
it's
think of
better
anything
than the
real
Lambo
good,
leap.
but Ford Flight.
Ford Flight. Somebody said Lions Leap, Leap of Pride, Lions Pounce. I think last night I saw Pride of the Pounce.
No, maybe Lions Leap.
Lions
Might be
Leap.
the best one.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have to take to Twitter and see if we can come up with something
Okay.
before the next show and then add it to the Woodward and Main Street glossary. Soon to be on Woodward Sports Network shop.
What is it? Lion's Den Leap?
That's what Troy Aikman said. Yeah, the Lion's Den leap.
I don't like
That just
that.
doesn't flow off the tongue.
We can do
It's
better.
it's too wordy and
It's got to be quick.
Jameer Jump,
clumsy.
Jahmyr jump.
Motor City Kitty Leap. Absolutely not.
No, I don't like anything with
Shutting
Motor
that right
City
down.
in it.
That's not your thing.
No,
Roaring
not
Leap.
me.
Motorboating.
We got to do better.
What?
Let me repeat that. We got to do better.
We haven't had time
Yeah,
to
we
think
do,
about
kids.
it.
We're gonna give the people some time, and then we'll
mess with
we'll revisit this topic. But I think after that, we're due for a name for it.
All right. All right.
Now, who are you giving your game ball to, Matt?
It's hard not to give it to Jahmyr Gibbs, but I'm going to give it to Sam Laporta. I'm going to give it to the little tight end out of Iowa. He had 8 catches. I think he was on 10 targets, a touchdown. He was open for another touchdown. They had just missed him, or Jared Goff passed it into the flats or something. But Sam Laporta, I thought he played another great game, maybe one of his best games of the year.
Yeah.
Just in terms of when he was making these catches, it seemed like they were all important catches or first downs. He was moving the chains when the offense was getting a little bit stagnant. It seemed that's when Sam Laporta came up with a big catch, and that touchdown, that's what really started the energy there in the first half. It's good to see Sam Laporta out there again, and I'm sure post game videos will start coming out today. He's just one of those kids in the locker room. He's always got a smile on his face. He's like the ultimate team player, and he doesn't want this bye week to come right now. He's like, let's keep that train rolling. But the bye week, this is good timing for the Lions. Let them rest.
And there were tough catches too. Usually, Sam Laporta's all by himself, just catching the ball over his shoulder or something. Last night, he had to out battle some guys.
And the thing is that while watching the game, in the past, when Sam Laporta has performed well, it's talked about a lot throughout the broadcast. But Gibbs was having so much of a good performance, and this was obviously his first breakout game of the season, that Laporta was just mentioned kind of as another player.
Yeah.
But I think that's kind of the train and the track that the Lions are moving on right now, because they're performing so well, and they have these rookies that are performing so well at a veteran level, that now it's kind of just a normal thing. Another day where we expect Sam Laporta to have this kind of performance, even though he's a rookie tight end.
That's
Yeah.
true. But I think earlier it was like, oh my God, look at this guy. He's really good. Now it's like, yeah, this is what Laporta does.
Yeah.
So it's just like, whatever.
I'll take it.
He's
I'll
special.
take it being an everyday occurrence.
Sure.
And
Heck
that's Gibbs and Laporta. Those are the two picks that were Jalen Carter's pick at number 6 turned into number 12 and number 30, 34, 31, 34. So there's a little battle there going on, but those two performed, and I mean it's hard to with the way Lee McNeil played yesterday. It's hard to not like those two draft picks. I'll say.
All right, I'm going to give out my game ball. And this week, I'm giving my game ball out. Let me get that one more time, a little bit early. I am giving my game ball out to Patterson.
Riley.
Because, he really showed out yesterday. I think we got an answer to this kicker battle that was happening, even though, he didn't go 5 for 5. But the fact is that he kicked 5 times, and 4 out of those 5 times, including so far, this is the season distance record, was 52 yards that he got last night. I mean, he's pretty reliable. And the fact that they had to rely on him that much, I don't even want to get into yet. We have to get into that, but they relied on him that much, and he showed up.
Of course, he missed the one from 2 yards out. So
I'm trying to figure out how you miss a 26-yard field goal.
I mean, that was not just a small
usually
miss. That was
it's a weird angle, and then you can't quite figure it out. And the wind blows it away. Of course, there's no wind in Ford Field. So
That air conditioning, the AC was blowing right at us.
It was. That's right. You were cold.
It was cold. I think it might have affected 26 yards.
Should have had your zip up.
I should have. I wasn't thinking ahead. Wasn't Halloween last night. Well, it kind of was, actually.
But I will say that I think we could all agree that we could have chosen Gibbs across the board. And earlier we had asked if Gibbs could be the workhorse with David Montgomery out. And I believe we got our answer to that last night.
Correct.
That's your biggest question, Terry.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't confident of that because he just doesn't seem like that guy. He seems like the secondary guy, and when Montgomery comes back, that's what he's going to be. But I think he will have a bigger role. It's not going to be Montgomery and then Jahmyr Gibbs. I think they'll share it. Montgomery will probably get a few more carries, maybe 55%, 60% of it. But Gibbs now is playing himself into that number 2 role in the National Football League. You know, a couple weeks ago, if you asked me about David Montgomery, give him the ball 40 times a game. But that doesn't work. What happens is usually you get injured. So how about lessening the load with Montgomery because you have faith in Jahmyr Gibbs? And so you have that 1-2 punch.
Instead of 32 rushes for Montgomery and 5 for Gibbs, maybe 22 for Montgomery and 10 or 12 for Gibbs. And what Gibbs did by putting this on tape last night, the last couple of weeks, is that when Montgomery comes back and they're both on the field, or even if they're not on the field together, the defense is now going to be off balance, not knowing Gibbs isn't just the outside running back when he's in. They have the ability to run in between the tackles when Gibbs is there too. So getting this on tape is as important as anything too.
Very much so. Very much so. But I think what's really interesting in this and what's really important is obviously we're going into the bye week and David Montgomery has more time to heal. But you can't be putting him in here this much. And like how bad of a cartilage tear was it in his ribs? And how likely is that to happen again is what I really want to know, because if they're putting him in there for that many touches over and over and over again, and this is an injury and an area of his body that they've seen in the past him struggle with, if they're putting him in there for that many touches, what is the likelihood that that could happen again?
Right.
Or a similar injury, and then we're down the line towards the end of the season, potentially going into the postseason. Now, having someone like Gibbs, you're able to split that load a little bit, take a little bit off Montgomery, and keep him healthier going into that end of the season and postseason. I think it's
well. I have the solution.
Okay.
Go to the Army surplus store and get them a bulletproof vest. They can have at it all they want. So that's not going to hurt.
Go right for it. We're going to get into our peak and pit of the game up next. Stick with us. This is Woodward and Main Street, brought to you by Les Stanford.
Brace yourselves, Detroit. As the sun begins to set, 2 of Woodward Sports' brightest young stars will be taking the mic for a brand new show. Woodward Nights with Broder and Broder. The dog days in Detroit are over, and the boys are unleashed. Join in on the banter and hop on the bandwagon of the #1 night show on the internet. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel every weeknight from 8 to 10 p.m. Woodward Nights with Broder and Broder. Now, coming to Woodward Sports, Woodward and Main Street, the Woodward Sports Network Detroit Lions show. Let's go! Catch Gabrielle Dee Phillips, Matt Broder, and Terry Foster for all the latest news on your Detroit Lions every week. Only on the Woodward Sports Network YouTube channel and woodwardsports.com.
Welcome back to Woodward and Main Street, your Lions Insider Show here on Woodward Sports Network. I'm Gabrielle Dee Phillips. Alongside me, as always, Matt Broder and Terry Foster. They were down at the game last night getting the inside scoop because this is your Lions Insider Show. Kicking off your Victory Tuesday, we're so glad to be the first show that you are spending your morning with after a Lions victory.
Yes.
I mean, what an honor.
We must be the first, other than Scott Van Pelt at night last night. We got to be the first. This is it. Thanks for being with us.
Kicking things right off.
Yeah. Who needs sleep? You know?
For the week.
Yeah, we shut down Ford Field last night.
That's right. We're ass kickers, man.
Yeah, that's what.
So we know what's happening.
We also know that in any good story, there is a high and there is a low. So we are going to get into our peak and pit of the game. Maybe if you went on a family vacation before, or you were out to a nice friend's dinner during a little vacation, or you come home from school and your parents sit you down and you're at the dinner table and they go, so what was your high and low of the day? What was your peak and your pit? Your rose and your thorn? Your peak and your valley. The
Okay,
list
we
could
get
go
it.
on
You
and
sound
on.
like Ted Lasso.
So that's what we're going to cover here in this moment right now. So let's kick it off. Terry or Matt, who would like to go first?
You want to go first, Terry?
My peak
Okay.
is that I think Matt Broder is my hero. 'Cause I got there a little bit late, so he got an Aiden Hutchinson. Well, he claims he got an Aiden Hutchinson bobblehead and bobbled leg.
I got it for you.
That's what he says. But the pit is he forgot it. So I think it's at home, and the dog is probably eating it now. But I thought,
Probably.
the pit was, what the hell was Jared Goff thinking when he threw that interception, the pick six?
That was ugly.
Yeah. It was like he was looking to throw an interception. It looked like he was tanking the game. I know he wasn't, but geez, that's what it looked like. I'm like, dude, really?
Marcus Peters and him, they are friends. They used to play together in L.A.
Maybe he got confused.
He talked about Marcus Peters in a couple press conferences this week. No, it was like probably one of the worst ball throwaways that I've ever seen. It seemed like he was trying to throw it into the ground or out of bounds, and it was like he short armed it right into Marcus Peters, who had 75 yards of just clear white, green grass, turf, green and black and white turf. Yeah.
Well, I know you guys don't like me to bring up
75.
same old Lions, but it reminded me of a interception that Scott Mitchell threw at the end of the game.
Scotty.
And what happened afterwards, his teammates were so angry with him, they had a big fight in the locker room afterwards. So why do we bring this scrub in? But the new Lions, whenever they face adversity, they're like, okay, let's brush it off. Let's regroup. And then they erase the mistake. So they have faith in Jared Goff. The old Lions did not have faith in Scott Mitchell. So they got into a brawl after the game. I mean, they were nubbing, popping each other.
Really?
Yeah. So like, why do we have this guy here? He's screwing the team up. When Jared Goff, every time he screws up, the Lions respond.
Yeah.
Either the defense or the next time the offense gets the ball, they score. It's like clockwork. The rubber ball theory.
They respond, and they respond quickly. Mm-hmm. It's like they don't even. It's not even like you had explained the rubber ball yesterday that you had to like pump it up with air. This is like if you throw a ball at the wall and it has that one moment of like going into the wall and then it bounces right back out.
Right. So you got to be quick.
Sticking with the rubber ball.
No,
theory.
but Dan Campbell did. He brought that up right in his press conference after the game. He was like, I forget how the question or how his answer started, but basically he was like, all we were thinking about, all right, we get the ball right back, our offense. We can just drive right back down the field. They were more angry at themselves than disappointed that it happened, and that was one Jared Goff wants to have back. It was ugly, but you're right. How resilient they've been. They're able to come back from what could have been a huge momentum shifter. It wasn't last night.
All right, that was your peak or your pit. What was your peak?
I think it was the 17-yard run that Jahmyr Gibbs ran to the 4-yard line. Did not result in a score, but I just think he kept gashing the Raiders.
Yeah.
And at that point, I'm like, okay, he's really on a roll now. So I thought it was a 17-yard run, and at that point, I knew the Raiders were dead. Even though they got the ball back, they weren't gonna do anything.
Yeah. My pit.
Yeah.
Remember when Max Crosby yanked the ball out of Craig Reynolds on the 2-3 yard line?
I do remember that.
Yeah, it looked pretty clear that Craig Reynolds was likely down, and Max Crosby was literally just like trying to get that ball out of there, and he ended up pulling it out, and they called it a fumble on the field, which made it hard to overturn once they went to a replay and weren't able to see actual evidence of Craig Reynolds, his legs, his body being on the ground. It looked pretty clear, but that could have been a huge
From
shifter.
the replays, I thought it was pretty clear, but obviously not clear enough.
But maybe the ref said, was he on top of somebody's body?
He might have been. Yeah, that's the thing.
And he wasn't quite on the ground.
Yeah, that's why they couldn't just overturn it, because you
Right.
couldn't see that he wasn't just on top of someone else's body. So they had it, but that was the Lions had an amazing drive down the field. It looked like they were going to easily score a touchdown. All of a sudden, Craig Reynolds gets in this pile, and we see the ball pop out. It was one of those things. Again, it could have turned the momentum around, and the Lions could have faltered from there. But no, they hung tough.
And now the reverse of that.
Oh, the peak, that Jahmyr Gibbs run was amazing. I think that Sam Laporta, I know I gave him my game ball earlier. That first touchdown was really the Lions have been driving. They got a couple field goals. They needed 7 points. They needed a touchdown to sort of really put the knife into the Raiders. And that's what I think that Sam Laporta touchdown did. It was a really nice pass over the middle, nice passing catch that Laporta was able to get in for another touchdown from the sensational rookie from Iowa.
The Lions are doing things early on to lose a football game. Because whenever you dominate and you settle for field goals, usually the other team says, okay, that's cool. We survived this onslaught. They didn't score a touchdown, and they're able to come back. I don't know if you guys know this, but a touchdown is worth more than the field goal.
It is. It is.
So the Lions struggled
don't
to
say.
get their first 3 scores, which are field goals. And then the first score for, Las Vegas is a touchdown, and all of a sudden you've dominated the game. It's only 9-7.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's usually spells doom for a team.
That's actually going to go into my pit. Was, yes, Patterson was obviously my game ball, but my pit is how many times that they had to use Patterson.
Right.
How many times that they got in a situation where they should have been able to score a touchdown, but instead they had to kick. That has to be fixed, and we're going to talk in the next segment about what needs to be fixed going into the bye week. But just to give a preview of that, that's my biggest note for the bye week is they can't be kicking for field goals. Yes, it's great that you have a kicker that you can rely on 4 out of 5 times, but you need to have players that you can rely on getting the ball into the end zone. So that is my pit, but my peak, I'm going to go with the sack count last night.
Oh, that's a good one.
Up to 6 sacks for the Detroit Lions, coming from all across the board again. That's what I'm talking about.
That was really nice. They made it tough on Jimmy G, who was struggling in general, but he had pressure on him all night.
Yep.
Then they were able to get him down 6 times, but he didn't have a lot of time back there. That's a good one.
But by the end of that fourth quarter, I mean, man, oh man, it was like sack, sack. I was tweeting and I was keeping a sack count going.
Did they
and I
have
had to
all the
keep going
sacks in the
again.
last 2 drives of the game?
I mean, it could have been.
There were
It
a
could have
couple.
been.
Anzalone had 2, McNeil had 2, Julian Okwara had 1, and there's one more in there. Was it Benito Jones?
I
don't
would have
know.
to revisit
It's the
my-
guy that
revisit
can't
my
play,
count.
Alex Anzalone.
No,
had
he
2.
had 2.
He had 2.
McNeil had 2.
I don't know how many
down my list.
I don't have his total snap count, but it was good to bring in. Who was it?
Tracy had one.
Tracy Walker. That's
There it
right.
is.
That was a big one at the. That was when they were just piling it on there at
Oh,
the
yeah.
end. But Broderick Martin got some time in there. I was watching a couple of plays. He didn't play a ton, but
He's your guy. How were you thinking? How did you think his performance was last night?
I think it was fine. I don't think he was in there enough to truly make a difference, but I saw him in there for a couple plays, and I had the binoculars on from the press box, and he was a big body right in the middle of that defense.
I
There were
don't
a
even
couple
think you needed the binoculars to be able to point him out.
That's true. I just wanted to see like his technique, and I wanted to see a little bit closer
Yeah.
closer look at that big body. But he did some good things. You can definitely see how big he is out there, and a couple of the plays he was able to redirect Josh Jacobs to a different direction. Josh Jacobs took advantage of that sometimes, but Broderick Martin, I don't think people should be giving up on him quite yet. I think he's got something in there that they're going to.
Well, that's cute, but I
Triple
threatened to
B.
leave the game because they sat Isaiah Buggs. So I'm like, I'm out.
Peace.
I'm going to go, peace
One
out.
triple
I'm
B
gone.
in and another triple B out.
I know. Well,
Bye.
I guess.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whose butt it is as long as there's a big butt in there.
Yeah. Cannot lie.
Cannot lie, Mr. Ted Lasso. But we are going to get into our notes for the Lions to address going into their bye week. Stick with us here as we round out the show in this fourth segment, the fourth quarter. This is Woodward and Main Street, your Lions Insider Show, brought to you by Les Stanford.
Woodward Sports' own Tom Mazaway and Sam Stick Day will be hosting our Lions postgame show after every Lions game all season long. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel for his hot-off-the-press takes, game analysis, and Kool-Aid sipping celebrations. You won't want to miss it. Join Maz, Stick, and special guests each week immediately following every Lions game, exclusively on the WSN YouTube channel. Join Woodward Sports' own Jeff Iafrate, along with special WSN guests for the most anticipated Lions season in decades. Filled with different surprises and expert analysis. You're not going to want to miss out. Go to our Woodward Sports YouTube channel on Sundays and tune in live from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m.
Good morning, happy Halloween, and happy Victory Tuesday, everybody. Thanks for tuning in bright and early this morning. It was a late one last night, but we hope we can start your morning off the right way as you're headed into a work, headed to drop the kids off to school, headed to go about your day in a victorious kind of way. We're going to get into some of our notes here because while the Lions came out with a victory last night, there's always room for improvement, and they have a bye week this week before they take on a little team from the West Coast, a little bit of the Chargers. So we have to brush some things up in the bye week. We're going to brush some things up, and we expect the Lions to do the same because we're always looking to improve. So looking at this bye week, I think the first thing on the list that I don't know if they can do much about this other than time is healing up and getting healthy.
You took the easy one.
Yeah.
No, that's got to be the number one.
Yeah. Number one on the list. Obviously not much they can do there, but time is needed for the Lions, and now with this bye week, it is on their side.
They should go to Home Depot and get bubble wrap. And keep these guys under bubble wrap for the next 2 weeks.
So first go to Home Depot and buy bubble wrap, and then second go to the Army surplus store and buy them bulletproof vests.
Get that master charge going.
And they're set.
Right. So I got all the answers.
Gotta hire Terry.
Bubble wrap and bulletproof vest.
You could be the shopping list guy for the Lions.
I'll do it.
I love it.
Why not?
Quality control, they say.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Now, the next on my list, and we kind of got into it because it was a part of my game ball, it was a part of my peek and pit, but the use of Patterson and how the Lions were looking in that red zone last night. What do they have to do to fix that? What do the Lions need to make happen in order to turn those field goals into touchdowns?
Get a big body receiver at the trade deadline? No, I don't think they need to make a big move like that. But that is part of the reason why they sometimes struggle in the red zone. They don't have that big target. They've got a great offensive playbook to get the ball into Amon-Ra or Sam Laporta's hands, but they don't have that big body. I do think that is an area they need to work on, their red zone offense. They've been good at scoring from outside the 20-yard line, but once they get in there, it seems there have been a couple costly turnovers, both at the goal line.
Yeah, I know, but I think once health starts to kick in, then we're going to see them play better in the red zone. And the other thing is a play call. I would do the stop fade for Sam Laporta. You've got faith in him. He's a big body. He can catch balls in traffic. They used to do the stop fade with Herman Moore.
Yeah.
I think Laporta could do the same thing. So let's be a little bit more innovative in our play calls.
I would say the other thing, I had put this out on my Twitter and on my Instagram last night because I wanted to hear what the people had to say, and overwhelmingly heard a response of the relationship between Jared Goff and Jameson Williams. One that we saw developing over camp, one that honestly I was pretty confident in, aside from the fact that there was going to be this time that they had apart. But unfortunately, we did not see too much of that connection sparking last night.
No, and you know, Jameson did have that one drop. It was, I don't want to say it was a poorly thrown ball, because I actually think Jared Goff was keeping him from getting killed. There was a safety coming or a cornerback coming that might have taken his head off, but you still, I think as a receiver, you get a finger on it, you should catch it. That rhythm wasn't there yet, but you saw Jameson in there. They were throwing him out in and out in different types of situations, pass blocking, run blocking, blocking after the catch for his after his other receivers caught the ball. So I've seen a lot of good things, but that rhythm. He doesn't feel really a part of that offense quite yet. I think
Right. I don't think they're doing him any justice. You know, there was a few times he lined up wide, did not get safety help. Let him jet. Why don't the Lions just let him go?
Yeah.
Instead of doing these little comeback routes and little in the little passes in the backfield. That's not what he does. He's a specialty receiver. And I understand if you have somebody on your roster, you want him to do everything that's needed for a wide receiver, but he's not going to be that this year. So I just think now and then let him jet. So what's the play? The play is just Jameson, run your ass off as fast as you can. I'm going to hit you.
I like that.
Let him jet.
Let him jet.
Add the snap in there. Let him jet.
Yeah. Especially because even if he doesn't catch it, if you just throwing that once or twice a game, even if Jared Goff overthrows it or underthrows it, it just makes those cornerbacks.
Well, we know he's not going to overthrow him.
Well, right, but that's my guy. I got to sneak it in. Well, you just got to get in this, get rid of it. Yeah.
And that, I believe, will do it for us today,
That's
gentlemen.
it? Oh, man.
That's it. And you want to know what I'm saying, oh man, too, as well, is that we're not going to be back here until the 12th.
Wow.
Because there's a bye week. But regardless, we will be back once the Lions are back for a little pregame action before the Lions take on the Chargers. That's Sunday, 8 a.m. on a game day. You won't want to miss it. Until then, you can find all of our clips on the Woodward Sports Twitter. Check out previous episodes if you're just tuning in. We have all the pre-games and post-games and Lions inside coverage here on Woodward Sports. I'm Gabrielle Dee Phillips, Matt Broder, Terry Foster. Thank you to Spencer Kool-Aid for making this show happen. And thank you to Les Stanford, ding, for being a sponsor of Woodward and Main Street. Have a great Victory Tuesday. Have a safe Halloween, and we'll see you soon.